Hi friends, Krista here. Thank you for stopping by Books and Jams. Today it's time for my August book haul. Now I have been on a spend-free month where I am really doing my best to not spend any money. And I was doing really well until the other day when I got a notice that my library was having a pop-up book sale just for friends of the library. It pays to be a friend of the library because you get little perks like that. I was not expecting it, and so I did go to a library book sale. I gave myself $20 tops, and I spent under $20. So I'm really pleased about that. I also have a stack of books from my trip to Massachusetts a couple months ago. I left a bag of books at my friend's house from one of the library book sales I went to while I was there, and she sent them to me. So I have those. And then I have a few more kind of carryover books that were sent to me towards the end of July, very beginning of August, and my book of the month books. So let's just jump right in. Turns out I have quite a big haul. I guess it wouldn't be a Books and Jams haul if it wasn't big, right? So let's start with the books that I purchased at a library book sale in Massachusetts, and my friend so kindly sent them to me. Thanks to Media Mail. It didn't cost her an arm and a leg. But this was from a fill a bag for $5 sale, and I purchased a number of books that are for my Christmas book exchange, and then these are the ones that I'm keeping for myself. The first is actually a magazine. This is a Life magazine, Carries On, and it's funny photographs from the pages of Life magazine. I just kind of threw this in my bag because I thought it would be fun to look at, and then I'll probably put it in my unhaul pile to take to the used bookstore. I think they will take things like this. Just looks like a fun thing to glance through, just to fill up that bag. I got Lineage of Grace by Francine Rivers. This is actually a collection of 5 different stories. I have some of them, but I don't have all 5. So I'm going to actually unhaul the ones that I have and just keep this. It's a biblical fiction of the 5 women that are included in the genealogy of Jesus. So we have Mary, Ruth, Tamar, Rahab, and Bathsheba. So it's 5 short stories, novellas of those women from the Bible. So I have read all of them before and I really like them, but I like having it in this edition that will match some of my other Francine Rivers books, and then I can unhaul some of the smaller books that are on my shelves. I threw a Lisa Genova in that bag, of course. This is one that I don't own yet, Inside the O'Briens. Lisa Genova has written a handful of books that all deal with different brain malfunctions or diseases or different things like that. This one is going to deal with Huntington's disease. We're going to follow Joe O'Brien, who is on the police force, and he starts recognizing in his mid-40s, he starts noticing that his brain is feeling scattered, and he has bouts of disorganized thinking, uncharacteristic temper outbursts, and strange involuntary movements. And at first he thinks that it is just the stress of his job, but he agrees to go see a neurologist and discovers that he has Huntington's disease. So that's a disease I don't know very much about. And Lisa Genova always just does such a fantastic job of helping me to understand the neurological side of things, but also the emotional and relational side of people who have to face these different brain difficulties. So I'm really excited to read more from Lisa G. She's my girl. I grabbed a nonfiction, Nora Ephron, I Feel Bad About My Neck, and Other Thoughts on Being a Woman. Nora Ephron is the director of so many romantic comedies that I love, so I just threw that one in my bag. I thought that would be a good read. These 3 I'm just really not familiar with at all, but we have The Curious Charms of Arthur Pepper by Phaedra Patrick, and I'm hoping this is kind of a curmudgeon, old man curmudgeon story. In this poignant and curiously charming debut, a lovable widower embarks on a life-changing adventure. I think that sounds really fun. The House at the End of Hope Street by Menna Van Praag. I've never ever heard of this one, but I loved the cover. So that was totally like, the cover looks good, let's throw it in the bag. This house may not give you what you want, but it will give you what you need. After Elba Ashby, the youngest PhD student at Cambridge University, suffers the worst event of her life, all in caps, she finds herself at the door of 11 Hope Street. There, a beautiful older woman named Peggy invites Alba to stay on the house's unusual conditions. She will have 99 nights and no more to turn her life around. Once inside, she realizes that this is just no ordinary house. Past residents include Virginia Woolf, Dorothy Parker, and Agatha Christie, all who stayed there when they too had lost hope. With the house's help, Alba decides to risk everything and embarks on a journey that may even save her life. How fun! That sounds really cool. Different. I'm curious. Let me know if you've read that one. And then this last one, I feel like I've heard of this from someone. Astrid and Veronica by Linda Olson. I believe this is about like an older woman and a younger woman. Veronica is a young writer from New Zealand. She rents a house in a small village in the midst of a harsh Swedish winter. Oh, so she's from New Zealand, but she's in Sweden in the wintertime. No, thank you. She's come here alone, hoping to come to terms with a recent tragedy. While finishing her latest novel, her arrival is observed by Astrid, her elderly, reclusive neighbor who harbors a dark secret from her own past. Astrid offers Veronica companionship in her grief, and the two embark on an unusual and unexpected friendship. I'm in. That just sounds really sweet and lovely. And it's going to deal with grief and like a friendship between an older woman and a younger woman. I just think that sounds really, really lovely. While I'm on the track of library book sales, let me just show you what I picked up just the other day from my library book sale. I grabbed this by Chris Bajalian because I've heard so many people read him lately. I know he has one out called The Witches, and this is one of his older books, but I guess it's super popular. Midwives. Takes place in the winter in an isolated house in rural Vermont. A seasoned midwife takes desperate measures to save a baby's life, performing an emergency C-section on a mother that she believes has died of a stroke. But what if Sybil's patient wasn't dead and Sybil inadvertently killed her? I don't know. Yikes. So I'm curious about that. I know a lot of you have probably already read that. Let me know what you think. This is a cover buy because it was only $1. This is called The Case of the Missing Books by Ian Sansom. And I believe this is going to be a mystery involving books. So that's all I needed to know about that. I grabbed the Little Beach Street Bakery because earlier this month at a little free library, I found Summer at Little Beach Street Bakery. So now I have a little, I don't know if that's a duology or if there's more in that series. These are by Jenny Colgan, and I know I've really enjoyed her Scottish book series, Little Bookshop on the Corner, and I forget what the second one is called. And then I have one more of that trilogy to read. So I'm excited for more Jenny Colgan. I think she's the right kind of sweet for me. I grabbed a book for Christmas, The Christmas Sisters by Sarah Morgan. I didn't know anything about it, but I know that people were reading this one last year, and I don't have a load of Christmas books on my shelves. I picked up one of the Mysterious Benedict Society books. I don't know if this is book 3 or 4, but I'm reading book 2 right now and really enjoying it. It's a middle grade mystery series. I did find one that was on my list of Newbery books that I still need, and this is Thimble Summer by Elizabeth Enright. I'm not sure what year it won, but I'm keeping a list on my phone now, so I did find one more of my Newbery books. I grabbed another middle grade called Redwall. This is the beginning of a long fantasy series where the main characters are mice, I think, by Brian Jakes. I've heard my brother has tried to get my sister to read that when she was much younger, but she never wanted to pick it up. But I just thought I would grab it, and someday maybe I'll try it. I don't know. I got a Christian fiction called The Memory House by Rachel Hauck. I have read other books by her and know that I really enjoy her writing, so I just thought I would get that one. And then this one I've never heard of before, If the Creek Don't Rise by Leah Weiss. I picked it up because it's blurbed by Kathleen Grissom, an impressive debut from a talent to watch. And Kathleen Grissom wrote 2 books that I love, The Kitchen House and Glory Over Everything. And this was published in 2017. So it's about 5 years old. And I've never heard anyone talk about this one. Sadie Blue has been a wife for 15 days. That's long enough to know she never should have hitched herself to Roy Tupkin, even with the baby. Dun, 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 dun. She's desperate to make her own mark on the world, but in remote Appalachia. That's another reason that I picked it up. I love books set in the Appalachian Mountains. A ticket out of town is hard to come by, and often hope often gets stomped out When a stranger comes up the mountain and knocks things off kilter, Sadie finds herself with an unexpected lifeline. She'll need all the pluck and courage she can muster to figure out how to use it. Sounds really interesting. I'm curious, and it has that buttery soft cover. I love it. And the last one I picked up from my library book sale is Hind's Feet on High Places by Hannah Hurnard. This is a kind of allegorical Christian book that I read when I was much younger, and I didn't own a copy of it, but I just thought that this was kind of cool. So I wanted to pick up this one, and it was only 50 cents. So I couldn't resist. Let's do my book of the month books, and then I'll end with the books that were gifted to me. So I did end up putting 3 books in my box this month. So I was very excited that they renewed or restocked the Personal Librarian because they were out of stock. And this is one of my 5-star NetGalley predictions. And you guys know I prefer to read in print rather than on my Kindle. So I'm excited to have this in print. I'm going to keep this out in front of me so I remember to give it a go and see if it's going to be a 5-star read. I've read books by Marie Benedict. Victoria Christopher Murray I'm not as familiar with, but this one is about J.P. Morgan's personal librarian, a Black American woman who is forced to hide her true identity and pass as white to leave a lasting legacy that enriched our nation. So I'm excited to read that one. Hopefully it will be 5 stars. I saw a lot of people talking about this one on Instagram. We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lange. I honestly have no idea what it's about. It's a lot thinner than I was expecting. I think this is going to be a family drama, and I've recently come to the conclusion, or recently kind of figured out, that family dramas are not always my thing. In the vein of Ask Again, Yes. Oh, that's not good words for me. By Mary Beth Keane, and The Nest by Cynthia Dupree Sweeney. Yeah, that also is not good for me. Tracy Lange explores the staying power of shame and the redemptive power of love in an Irish Catholic family torn apart by secrets. So we'll see about this one. It is honestly not very high on my priority list, and now I'm wondering why I threw it in my box. But I think I heard a couple people on Instagram say that they really, really loved this one, and I'm a sucker for that. I'm easily swayed. And then because I really wanted to get the Personal Librarian, I needed to choose one of this month's books. And none of them really were jumping out to me. But the one I decided on is Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. And I believe this is about repopulating the Scottish Highlands with wolves. Yeah, Inti Flynn and her twin sister Aggie lead a team of biologists tasked with reintroducing 14 gray wolves into the remote highlands, hoping to heal the dying landscape, and Aggie too, unmade by the terrible secrets that drove the sisters out of Alaska. So these 2 sisters are originally from Alaska. There's going to be family drama and secrets, and also this wolves being reintroduced to Scotland. So kind of interested in that. I think the cover is really cool, but that's the one that I decided on. And finally, we will talk about the books that were gifted to me. One of my dear friends who sent me books for my birthday sent me the first 2 in this companion series, and also pre-ordered Being Clem. So this came just a couple of weeks ago when it was finally out. And this is Being Clem by Lisa Klein Ransom, and it's a middle grade book about Clem, obviously. The first 2 in the series are Finding Langston and Leaving Lyman. And then Clem is the 3rd boy in this kind of group of boys that we have been following, and we get to know his backstory. I'm very excited about it. It's a little thicker than the other 2, but I really loved the other 2 very, very much, and I'm excited to read this one as well. Thank you so much, Kim. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm pretty sure this one is from Melinda. This is The Road to Memphis by Mildred D. Taylor. This is part of the Logan series by Mildred D. Taylor. As America hovers on the brink of World War II, Cassie Logan fights a battle closer to home, the battle of Black against White. So I read during Middle Grade March, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, and that is not the first book in the series, but it was really good. It had won a Newbery Medal. So now I have quite a few other ones in the series, and I'm excited to read more about the Logan family because I fell in love with them in Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. It was a beautiful portrayal of this family living in the South and dealing with a lot of race issues and trying to raise the kids to be kind and thoughtful and stand up for themselves, but also be respectful and safe. it was a very interesting book to read, and I'm very, very glad to have another one in the series. And then Maria, the lovely Maria, sent me The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I'm really excited to read this one. Again, this is one that has had some mixed reviews from people, but I am very eager to read it. I actually have it out from the library right now, so I can return my library copy because now I own it. Thank you to Maria. I'm very excited to read this one. I've just heard mixed things about it, but it's all about kind of the choices that we make in life and what would happen if we make different choices. Yeah, so between life and death, there is a library. So we follow Nora, whose life has been filled with regret and sorrow and misery. She feels like she let everybody down, and then things are about to change. And she finds herself in the Midnight Library and is able to explore different choices in her life and what would have happened if she had made different choices. So I'm really excited for that one. Thank you so much, Maria, for sending it. An author sent me a book this month, Gausia Nealon. I'm probably butchered that. I'm so sorry, Gausia Nealon. This is The Last Sketch. It's a World War II historical fiction. And I love books that have art in it. So that was kind of one of the reasons why I decided to accept this book and read it for you guys. They both hold tight to a terrible secret. When they cross paths in war-torn Europe, will their destinies lead to ruin or victory over evil? And it takes place in Poland in 1944, right near the end of the war. We follow Wanda, who is a 23-year-old artist, doing whatever it takes to help the underground movement be mobilized against Hitler's forces. But she's devastated when the Gestapo storms her house in search of rebel leaders, killing her father and leaving the face of his murderer forever etched in her mind. And then in New York, Finn Keller longs to balance the scales. Having escaped Germany with his mother when he was a teenager, he's now disgusted that his estranged twin brother has actually become a Nazi henchman with a vicious reputation. And then he is approached to be a part of an undercover mission, and he decides to risk his life to do it and hopefully turn the tide of the war. And then these two lives are going to intersect. I think that it sounds really interesting. Thank you so much, Gausia, for sending that to me. And finally, I have an Amy Harmon book. I participated in a book swap on one of the Facebook groups that I'm in, and this is the book that was sent to me, Making Faces. I'm really excited. It's one of her older ones, but I have loved the two Amy Harmon books that I have read already, and I'm very excited for another one. This one was published in 2013, so it's a little bit older. This story takes place in a small town, and 5 young men who live in this small town all go off to war, and only one of them comes back. And so it's kind of the story of loss and collective loss as a town, individual loss of beauty. I guess the one who comes back used to be a very, very good looking man, but because of the situation in the war that he had to face, he comes back scarred. So it's loss of life, loss of identity. It's the tale of one girl's love for a broken boy and a wounded warrior's love for an unremarkable girl. Why is she unremarkable? I don't know. It's kind of a modern Beauty and the Beast type of book, and I'm just really excited for another Amy Harmon. So I'm so thrilled that I participated in that swap and got that book. Yay! And that is it. I'm not going to try to hold all of those up because for a month that I wasn't spending a lot of money, I had quite a few books here to still talk about. But I would love to chat with you in the comments below. Have you read any of these books or heard about them or want me to read some sooner rather than later? Let me know. I would love to chat with you in the comments about these books or anything else. You guys know I love talking with you down there. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, and I look forward to talking with you in another video very soon. Bye.